Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar on NLP, Metaprograms and time. I think you'll find this a very interesting webinar. We've got it going probably for about half an hour or thereabouts. I'm always attempting to keep these nice and brief for everyone who's online listening and make it just nice and easy and snappy, straight to the point. That's a real challenge, though, with when talking about time. It's such a huge topic. To start off with, though, I do want to welcome everyone to this webinar. Just a couple of things about the actual process of how we're running it. It's not an NLP training, but I will be sharing some information with you about NLP and maybe some techniques and things that you can knowledge, understanding that you can walk away with and apply straight away in your life. To give you actually more choice and more options on how you live and to really give you the freedom to be who you really are, who you want to be. So everyone's on mute. There is a Q&A chat box there as well, so that you feel free to type in any questions if you like, and I'll answer them as we go. A little bit about myself. I've been working and studying with NLP for over 20 years now, and it has been such a major thing in my life. It's changed my life in many, many different ways. I use it professionally in my work and in my career, in the business that I'm involved with. I've used it in areas of HR and certainly with coaching myself and other people as well. There's a lot in NLP, a lot that can benefit everybody in all areas of life. In terms of time, NLP has contributed to my understanding of time because it's enabled us to understand how we actually code and process time in our neurology. And what that actually has done is it helps us actually gain conscious control of how we experience time, experiences in the present and expectations in the future, meaning we can actually do things to change all of those if the way we're operating at the moment isn't empowering for you. Before we really get into it, I just want to have just a real quick, brief update on what NLP is and what it does. You can see there's some definitions. We've spoken about this a little bit before. But really, it's a discipline or a process for understanding how we use our mind to create our reality and create the patterns that we use in everyday life, or the programs that we run. We have programs for everything, programs for getting up in the morning, going to work. We have strategies for how we make a lovely meal. We have patterns for how we make decisions. Everything in our life really can be described by some sort of pattern or strategy. So NLP helps us understand how we actually do all of that. In terms of understanding metaprograms and time, the NLP communication model helps us place it in context a little bit. You can see it right there, right in the middle. Metaprograms are programs that we use to sort information, the information that we use in our life. So you see here an external event happens, we process and filter that through our senses. Our senses delete a lot of the information that comes in from our external environment. And then it is filtered internally. Internally in our mind, we filter the information further, we delete some of the information, we distort it and generalize it. And we do this on the basis of maybe some memories that we have, values and beliefs, and metaprograms. So in effect, the metaprograms help us filter out a lot of data that we experience from the external world, data that we don't necessarily want to pay attention to or even can physically pay attention to. There's so much information going on out there. If we didn't filter it, we would be in overwhelm. But what is it that we do filter? How does our mind determine what to filter? And our metaprograms are one of the things that actually plays a major role in sorting through that information and determining what we actually filter from all the incoming data. So our values and beliefs, also our memories, do that as well. And how we filter is by deleting some of the information. We distort information that comes in, and we generalize. As a result of all of these processes, we have the end result is that we have some sort of internal representation or thought, which impacts and influences how we feel about things, our state, which then also influences our physiology in our body, and that in turn influences how we behave in the world, how we move through the world. So the metaprograms are a key part of this whole process of determining what ends up as our internal representation, our state and physiology. Now, this model here is sort of descriptive in a way that, it's almost a linear way, or step 1, step 2, step 3, and so on. But all of this is a cybernetic process, so it basically all happens simultaneously at the same time. This is sort of just a representation to help, to help us understand how our mind operates, and how our thinking, our representation can impact our state and our physiology, our body, and that determines our language and behaviour again in the external world. So metaprograms operate in here, in this space here. It's one of those filters, and they really determine what we pay attention to and what we delete and distort. If we just focus on that area, just on the metaprograms, the way we describe them in NLP is as filters that a person uses to do everything in their lives. So they, as a result of the metaprogram, develop habits of thought, and really the processes we use to sort incoming information, what we pay attention to, what we filter out, which is what I have just said. Now, why do we need to know about them? They're useful to know for various reasons. Once we know what metaprogram we use, for example, it really helps us understand how we communicate and how other people communicate. It helps us understand other people's model of the world. What are the maps that they use to guide their behaviour? And that can be determined in NLP. We talk about through the language, through how they use their body, and so on. You can actually understand and determine what metaprograms they're using. And we do that by actually paying attention to the other, and also paying attention to ourselves and understanding our own model of the world. So it enables us, once we know somebody's metaprogram, for example, in communication, it helps us build rapport, because we're then able to match their meta model that they use. And consequently, when we match that, we're able to influence the communication, influence the outcome positively, in a positive way. Our communication bypasses or matches the filters that they use, and so slips straight into that person's mind, really. So there's no barriers to communication, very few less barriers to communication, so you're able to influence more effectively. You can understand and respect your own model of the world and find value in what you do, and also other people's model of the world, and understand why the value it provides to them, and why they might be using a particular metaprogram and how they use it. When you understand metaprograms, and through various processes and techniques in NLP, you can learn to change ones that are unresourceful, that don't help you have the choice that you want to have in your life when you're doing things or experiencing things. So understanding that you can change them, knowing how to change unresourceful metaprograms, is really very empowering for yourself, and when you might coach or show other people as well. that gives them a lot more flexibility in how they deal with things that happen in their life. So that's our point, developing flexibility. So you're able to be more responsive to all sorts of events. You, instead of feeling like you might be reactive, where you only have one way to respond. Having choice and flexibility is critical. That's one of the main presuppositions in NLP, is to have more flexibility and more choice in how you respond to things that happen in your life. Consequently, you can learn to model and apply metaprograms to yourself, to motivate yourself and to motivate other people. So it opens up opportunity and creativity and being able to achieve your outcomes easy, flexibly, in a way where you're just in the moment and able to respond very, very creatively. Metaprograms are very, very unconscious, so we're not really aware of them. Most people are not aware of the metaprograms that they use, so they operate outside of your awareness. And this is one of the good things about this, I guess one of the benefits from this webinar is that you'll learn to start identifying some of them and being able to understand the value that they bring. The metaprograms control everything that we do. So it's really, I guess, valuable to understand as many as you can. In fact, there's something like 60 different metaprograms at the moment. In this webinar, we'll only be looking at one. We'll look at a couple that relate to time and one in a little bit of detail. But in the practitioner level of NLP, we might cover 2 or 3 of them. In the master prac, you might cover maybe about 20 metaprograms in a bit more detail. So there's a lot of information out there about metaprograms, and understanding how and when to use them. You might use different metaprograms in different contexts, and they influence everything you do. So learning how to use this is very empowering. They act as a frame of reference for us in terms of how we behave and move in the world. And as I said earlier, in terms of the map of the world, there's sort of a frame of mind out of which we speak, out of which we think, have feelings, emote, and behave. So in terms of the metaprograms relating to time, there are 4 at the moment that I can identify. There are probably others, but these are 4 critical ones in terms of how we move through the world. There's an organisational filter, and all of these metaprograms also operate on a continuum. So you can have extremes of either or behaviour, and you can have both. And so I think the brilliant thing is when you're able to flexibly move from one end to another, depending on the context and what's needed in that context, and developing that flexibility is a critical skill. So the organisational filter is about options and procedures, and it relates to how a person organises their thoughts and behaviours, and it's based on, do they prefer options, so do they like having choice, alternatives, and do they, or do they like having procedures where they might sequence things in a particular way, and they have they like order and they like structure. So an individual might like having options and alternatives, or like having procedures and structures. At work, for example, someone who likes options, you give them a job to do, and they will go away and do it the way that they think is best. If a manager wants or gives real detailed instructions on how something should be done to an options person might get a bit upset and feel like they're being micromanaged. And at the other end, you have someone who does like procedures and who does like things very orderly and very sequential. And that's the type of person who would really benefit from the manager actually giving them specific detailed directions on how to implement a particular task. If that manager doesn't do that for someone who writes procedures, the individual employee may very well think their manager is not very good. The second metaprogram there is the adaptation sort, and that relates to judging and perceiving preference. This is about adapting, how we adapt to life and to the information that sort of influences our personal world, and we can do that really in two ways in this metaprogram. So we judge life by we move through life by seeking to understand life on its own terms. So we just perceive it. So we flow along, go with the flow, pretty spontaneously. Or the other way is we can make plans to order, regulate, and control life's events. So we want things to happen in a particular way, and then we plan it. In terms of work, a judging person would be very planned, very meticulous in their planning, would be very on time, would like things sequenced and orderly and structured, and you might find that they get to a meeting very close, even 5 minutes earlier. Whereas the person with the perceiving preference, they sort of like to go with the flow. They don't really plan very far ahead, and sometimes they might even miss some deadlines, but generally they make deadlines, but just in the nick of time. The time experience sort, we have the in time and the through time, and that refers to how we code our sense of historical time. And for some people, they might code it in their body in a particular way that might refer to a timeline or some other configuration. So I'm not going to go into detail with these ones, but the one I really want to focus on today is the time tense sort, which is past, present, and future. The others we cover in quite a lot of detail in the Master Prac course, and as we do with this last one. But this last one has some things that I think we can discuss in a little bit of detail today. So the past, present, and future metaprogram refers to how we in our system are able to distinguish between things that happened in the past, things that are happening today, and things that are happening or might happen in the future. How do we distinguish between those events that have already occurred? If you close your eyes for just a moment and think about brushing your teeth, maybe this morning or yesterday. How do you actually represent that in your body? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? What about something that is happening right now? Are you in this moment listening to every word I'm saying, or are your thoughts traveling somewhere else? And again, thinking about the future. So it sort of refers to the different time zones, past, present, future, but there's also another time zone, which is an eternal one, which is sort of a little bit outside of time. So if you are going to understand your own preference in this continuum, where do you put most of your attention? On the past, the present, or the future? Just think about that. Where do you think most of your time and energy is spent? Is it spent in the past, thinking about events that have occurred historically, in the moment, in the present? Or are you always planning and thinking ahead about what's going to happen, what your next action is, what you're going to cook for dinner tonight, you're going to pick up the kids, and all of that? Is that in the future? Or have you developed what they call atemporal attitude? So you're sort of above it all, looking at all those things at the same time. So it's just something to think about. What we're going to do is have a look at each of those in a little bit more detail, and then some strategies. This is how you identify strategies for identifying in others, in yourself and others, and then what you can do to sort of match them and build some relationship, a closer relationship with other people as well. And then some strategies to help you become more flexible in where you want to be. So as human beings, we're quite unique in our ability to be able to conceptualize time. Time in and of itself is not a thing, and we talk about it as if it is a thing, as if it's a noun. So we can't really pick up time and put it in a wheelbarrow or pick up time and give it to somebody else. It doesn't really have, in reality, empirically, we can't taste time, for example. It's something we conceptualize in our mind, something that we think about. In our NLP practitioner, master practitioner training, we go into a lot more detail in terms of understanding what time really is and how time really functions. So here I can just sort of give you a taste of all of that. So we'll go through this, the time tense sort, and we'll start with the past. And someone who is spends a lot of their energy, focus, or consciousness in the past, they think quite a lot about their previous experiences and what they meant to them. They use the past quite a lot. References, if you think about their language, if you want to identify this metaprogram in other people, a lot of the language will be about the past, and there'll be past tenses. We used to do this, we wanted that, this is what happened in the past, and so on. And for these individuals, history and tradition carries a lot of weight. So history and tradition is very important. So when you think about a change project that you might be engaged in at work, or even an individual who you want to coach, or even yourself sometimes, if you think about where you are and you want to change in the future, if you're spending a lot of time in the past and a lot of your energy is there, it might be a challenge to get energy to be towards something else that you want to have in your life. So when you think about the past, it really actually doesn't literally exist. All we really have is our concepts and memories of previous events, the learnings we may have gained from previous experiences. And these sort of really only exist in our mind, and conceptually they're things we might play over and over. So when a person lives in the past, though, this is the challenge. I think when we're talking about the metaprograms, one of the keys we mentioned earlier was to be able to flexibly move up and down the continuum of each metaprogram, so you have choice and responsiveness. But when somebody actually lives in the past and spends a lot of their psychic energy there, it's very difficult, or becomes much more challenging, to create anything new, or create anything fresh, or be in the moment and enjoy what's going on. So from the point of view of NLP, the past is wonderful to be able to visit, but not to live there. And you visit the past from the point of view of getting all the wisdom that you would have had from the experiences you've had, and also to sort of access a lot of the resources and knowledge that you can use to bring to the now and empower you right in the moment and in the now. So sometimes people who are stuck in the past, you might hear phrases or statements like, "Oh, I can't get over it. I just can't put it behind me." And other people might say, "Come on, just put it behind you, move on, get a life today." And this is where NLP is very useful in helping people overcome. There's lots of techniques and tools and presuppositions that help people understand and be able to let go and release the past and move on and get all the great things from there and build on those wonderful things and use those empowering resources that you've had in the past, and use them and apply them today. I think one of the good things about NLP is that it helps us understand how we can actually do that. And visiting the past is really good from the point of view of there might be emotional events or painful events that people play over again and again in the mind, and work through some NLP techniques. What we can help people do is get distance from that. So step out of that experience and look back on those experiences in the space above that. And when you dissociate from that, you can then actually learn what you need to learn from that, and heal, and not repressing these events or denying these events allows us to accept what we need to do to learn from them, so that we can use that learning now and whenever we need to in the future. And also, when we're stuck in the past, our psychic energy is stuck there as well. And what can lead to, in some cases, instances of illness, physical illness, because that energy is actually literally stuck in the body, and it's sort of negative, heavy energy that's stuck there that can be a precursor to becoming quite ill. So thinking about the past from a position of comfort and resourcefulness is very empowering, and from that you can take all the resources you need, all the learnings you need from those events, and bring them forward into the future so you can apply them now and into the future. So NLP can help change how we code the past in our system, and certainly dissociating from that is one of the main ways you can actually learn to recode the past, is stepping out of it and looking at it, rather than stepping out. The other one is the future. The past. Yes, the future is another direction we look at, and some people focus primarily on the future, and their tenses and references that they use in the language are always about that. Oh, I'm going to do this, and wouldn't it be great if I had that? And again, the focus on the future can be overdone. So to the extent if someone's always living in the future, they're not really planning for today, they're always somewhere else. So they're missing out on what's happening today. Their mind is always somewhere else. So again, the future isn't something that really exists. You can't sort of walk over and pick it up or handle it. It really is in our mind. And we do recreate the future through our imagination, and we anticipate that. So some of the things, when somebody lives in the future, and they don't make plans for today, they can actually, by imagining too much or over-imagining, they sort of can develop or create feelings or a state of overwhelm in the moment, and so much so that they get stuck. They're so overwhelmed with all the things that they want and all the things that they have to have. The other thing, the other challenge that can happen by living or spending a lot of your psychic energy in the future is the imagination. You can really, in a negative sense, start anticipating things that go wrong. And then when that happens, I'm not saying that it's okay to actually do that, to sort of go ahead and plan the future, but when they're imagining things that go wrong, and then they can replay those images in their mind of what can go wrong, and they can actually create a sense of panic and stuckness in their life, so they're even afraid. They become afraid to move forward and to do things. So there's always a sense of dread or anxiety that stifles any creativity, flow, or movement because of the negative over-imagining that might be anticipating or wanting to create. So the future is spending time in the future is really good. So that on the other hand, can also be good from the point of view of planning and creating outcomes for yourself and moving forward with really positive energy. So you can see spending too much time in the past or in the future is not necessarily going to create the options and opportunity for you living there. The ideal really is to live in the present. And again, even in this time zone, we're sort of time travelers. But in this time zone, people who spend most of their time in the present, living them now for the today. Again, in their language, it's a present tense orientation in the way they talk and reference things. And again, overwhelming when you do living in the present all the time, you're not really thinking about the future. You're not thinking about consequences of the actions that you take today. The impact that might have. It's all about me. It's all about now. It's all about what I sort of want right now. So you're not really planning for the future, and you're not also getting all the learnings and resources from the past that can help you. So being overwhelmingly stuck in the present is not, and I don't like to use the word it's not good, it's not as effective to help you achieve your outcomes as it is the ability to be able to be fully present now and integrate both the past and the future in what we do now. Sometimes what happens when people ignore the past and the future and just live now, they're sort of in this state of I want something, I need to have it, I must have it now. So delaying gratification is a real challenge for them. And so it's always a sort of a sense of frustration when they can't get what they want, when they can't have their needs or whatever it is fulfilled straight away. They see no value really in waiting and don't plan for the future. So they can be quite impulsive, impatient, and pretty reactive. So ideally, we really want to work towards being present in the moment in a healthy, balanced way. Because we only really do have the moment. The moment right now is where I can make a difference in my life, where I can choose to go one way or the other. I can't do that in the past, that's what we've got. The future hasn't come yet, so now is the moment of power. And so that being psychologically present is sort of having a healthy balance between all these different time zones. It's being present, but it's also integrating the wisdom of the past, integrating that the imaginings and the creativity that comes from imagining the future, integrating that right into the present moment and being fully engaged with that so that you can bring that alive in your life. Having a healthy balance is also having that consciousness that you can move or travel through all the time travel quite flexibly through all those zones and get all the benefits from each area that you really want to have or create in your life. So some strategies for achieving that healthy balance. The first one is understanding and valuing the importance of doing that, of having that balance of being and learning to be fully in the present and being fully here right now. I think we've spoken a little bit about that, and it might be a good idea to go back over this webinar and listen to it again. That being now is the moment of power, so it's so much valuable for you than being in the past or in the future, overly in the past or in the future. So the other one is practice, putting that appreciation into practice, living more fully engaged in here and now. And you can do that by just consciously slowing yourself down. Notice the taste and the smell of the food that you eat. Notice how it is you sit at your desk and how your breathing is and your posture and so on. So consciously slowing yourself down, attending to the here and now. That is really, really critical. It's an awareness thing. It's a thing that's about practice. Practicing mindfulness is really very valuable in this in the context of this and in the context of your entire life. It's really connecting back into your body and really into the moment and experiencing everything that you have to experience. When you zone out, you sort of go somewhere else and you're not really looking around, and that has its benefits. But being able to come back to hearing that is really critical as well. So you don't miss out on what's going on around you. Let go of the past in terms of things that might keep you stuck there, like painful memories and events. Recode the past in life so that you get the learning, change how you experience your relationship to the past, that you love the past, and that can be quite challenging. I'm not saying that it's easy to do that. I am saying that there are strategies and things that will help you, and it might be as simple as giving yourself permission to let the past go. You might say something like, I give myself permission to release the past. Those events represent experiences I went through. They're behind me. You might say, I refuse to allow those experiences to define me, my value, my capacity, my potential, my dream life. I give myself permission to release the past. And it might be a matter of repeating that a few times to yourself, as often as you think, and really feeling that in your body, really acknowledging the past as the past. And it has passed. For some people, it might be about forgiveness, forgiving yourself or forgiving other people. And forgiveness has a lot about giving yourself the love that you need. Some things you can't change. Some things you can change, and where you can change something, do. If you can fix something that's broken, fix it. But other times you might just have to acknowledge your humanity and that you did the best you knew how, and that those people around you may have done the best they've known how as well. So forgiveness is a whole space of that leads to a lot of healing. Identifying the limited beliefs that you might have created from the past. The belief might be the past determines my life today, so what happens in the past is going to happen right now. And again, identifying those beliefs and changing them is really, really critical. There's a webinar about beliefs on my site, Jacqui.Abboud.com, and that's there's got a wonderful strategy in there for helping you change limiting beliefs. So come back from the future. Don't spend so much time in the future. Come back to the present. The present is a gift, and is now. So that's another thing. When you're too much in the present, you actually miss all the beauty and all the learning in the moment. So just be aware of that and bring your awareness back. And develop flexibility of consciousness about time. So when you think about your time traveling, the past, the present, and the future, and you step back and look at all of that, you're able to balance all zones when you practice stepping out of it and looking at that and understanding, having the awareness of this little program. You're able to develop a sense of time where you think about all the zones, gives you an expanded awareness of things, as well as a sense of choice about which zone you want to be in, which zone you think will provide you the most benefits at the moment. How do you want to experience all those zones? So stepping out of time sometimes is a really good thing. I'm just being aware of time now, and I think that's probably it for the moment. There's actually so much to think about in terms of this Metaprogram and all the other Metaprograms. So I really hope you can join me at my trainings that are coming up. There's one coming up in May and another in October, practitioner level, and then master practitioner similar to that. So for details of programs, you can go to my website, jacqui@abboud.com, or you can email me if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it. A lot of the material I spoke about today is from two sources: Michael Hall and his book Timeline, and also Ted James, who both who I have studied and worked with, and brilliant sources of information if you want to pursue that further. So hope to hear from you soon. Thanks again for joining.